Hey everyone, I am about to do one of my ritualistic tasks as a mom. I try to keep homemade waffles made up in the freezer as often as I can. And I tend to, when I cook, I tend to cook big because, well, we have a big family, but I figure if you're going to spend the time to cook something, you might as well spend a little extra time, make a whole bunch of it, and that way it saves you money, time on the back side of the process. Actually saves you money too. Just, I can go over that later. What I'm doing, I don't know if you can see this. This is my Joy of Cooking cookbook. This is one of the old standbys. This is this thing is falling apart like crazy, and it's got stains all over it. I mean, batter everywhere. But it's my go-to for several different recipes. And I like the waffle recipe that's in here. So I always go to it. And I've even already got it written down in there. I've corrected it to add the quadrupled recipe numbers. So I've already got that ready to go. I'm set up. This recipe, I'm going to put it on the blog, the whole recipe. And I was just going to show you what it basically goes into it. Unsalted butter, 4 sticks of it, and a dozen eggs, 7 cups of flour, 4 tablespoons of sugar, and a little bit of baking powder and a little bit of salt. And that's the gist of it. I always add vanilla, and I like Mexican vanilla. It's just my favorite. It's our family's preference. But I always add that in. It's not in the recipe, but it's my tweak on it. This is a really simple thing to put together. You put your dry ingredients in a bowl and whisk them together. And then you put your melted butter and the milk too. Milk is in there too. And your milk and your eggs in your mixer, or however you want to do it, with the hand mixer or whatever, and beat those together, kind of whip them up, and then fold your wet ingredients into your dry ingredients and give it an easy stir, just a gentle stir to get it mixed together. You do not want to over mix your waffle batter. Lumps are fine, they'll go away. But this is a plain recipe that you can add things to, and I think chocolate chip waffles are the family's favorite. I also do blueberry waffles. It just depends on kind of what mood we're in and what's going on. And I also make my own homemade syrup. I will do another video on that. It's my youngest son calls it the good stuff. That's what he's referring to when he says, "Can we have the good stuff?" And it's a family favorite. I don't think we'd ever go back to store-bought syrup ever again. But I will put that on there as well as, and then the recipe on my A Life on the Farm blog. So I'm trying to get a bunch of these recipes that I use as a regular thing for our household added to the site. So many people have asked me about it. We do a lot of freezer cooking. We do a lot of canning, and I'm going to take you guys through that. But I do, like I say, a big batch cooking, freezer cooking, and I try to keep everything as stocked up as possible. In fact, we've got 3 full freezers, like standalone freezers, and then 2 fridge freezers that had been full for a while because of butchering and hunting and what have you. I've been trying to slowly pull things out of there, meat and stuff, make up some things to put back in there as ready-made meals. Then I also can up my meat to get it out of there. I've got to make some room because we are back into deer season again. So that's kind of a big deal. We usually, as a family, we usually pull in a few, and I get those processed and into the freezer and start all over again. But I will be getting all these recipes on there. Be sure and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can be in on all these recipes as they come up, and the new videos and the baking tips and tricks. That's one of my favorite things to do is bake. I will cook. My family seems to think they've got to eat every day, so I do cook, keep them alive. But my favorite thing is baking. And so I've got a lot of really cool tips and tricks that I was going to put on the channel and then add to the blog as well. So be sure and hit those notification buttons and the subscribe bell, or backwards of that, and stay in contact. I'm going to get this going and then I will show you the process at the end of this thing. Okay, so I've got my batter mixed up. It didn't take but a few minutes to put it all together, and I've got it in this great big bowl here, and I've got my waffle iron heating up. Pretty well hot now. I used to use a George Foreman grill that made like 4 square waffles at a time, and I thought, well, that's really efficient, makes a bunch at a time. But honestly, we like these better. And while it literally makes 1 at a time, just kind of like the kind in the hotels, it makes 1 big one at a time. And we all like them better. They're fluffy and thick. So we really like these. And I actually got this at a yard sale for $5. So great find. Anyway, I have got my olive oil spray, and I'm just going to give it a quick little spray. And honestly, I typically just have to spray it the one time at the beginning. And from that point on, I don't really have to continue spraying. There's butter in there, a lot of butter in there, and it kind of keeps it greased up for me. But all I do is dip a little bit out with the measurer, and I kind of put it in the center, because when I close it, it'll kind of squish it out to the edges. And then one at a time, I put my stuff of choice. This time it's going to be chocolate chips again. I think that's what everyone kind of prefers in the family. So I put the chocolate chips in there, close this thing up, turn it over, and I'll wait. It doesn't take too terribly long to get them cooked, and I can be doing other things here in the kitchen as I'm going back and forth with this. Well, about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, I am completely done with the big, huge quadruple batch of chocolate chip waffles. After my boys got their breakfast out of it this morning, we're still left with about 25 big, massive waffles, and I'll be letting them cool completely, and then I will be bagging them up into freezer bags and sticking them in the freezer to be able to pull out however many we want at a time and throw them in the oven on broil, toast them up real quick, and have a quick breakfast, or as my husband likes to do it, a quick midnight snack.